Welcome to Group O's presentation on Diehard by Shem, Kajal, Florence, Theo, and Basil. The first item I'll be talking about is on the list of technologies that Gabriel will use to break several laws. For example, walkie-talkies, white cars, phones, computers, and guns.
Which Thomas Gabriel wrote was the Computer Misuse Act of 1990. Now, before 1990, there was no legislation against computer hacking, so computer hackers wouldn't get fined or imprisoned. But after, when the law was put in place, there was legislation against it, and that's what we're going to talk about. So the Act has three main sections. Section 1 is attempting to gain unauthorized access to programs or data. Now, Thomas Gabriel wrote this in four main ways. He hacked the National Data Administration database. He also hacked the traffic controls of the traffic lights. He hacked the national power grid, and he also hacked the TV stations and the networks. Now, for breaking Section 1 of the Act, it has penalties. Now, the penalties is up to 12 months imprisonment and a £5,000 fine. On indictment, this could be increased to up to 2 years imprisonment and also still a £5,000 fine. Section 2 of the Act is attempting to gain unauthorized access to programs or data with the intent to commit a further crime. Now, Thomas Gabriel, when he hacked the national power grid, he used a manual override to shut down the power, so that's the further intent to commit a crime or offence. He also hacked the TV stations and displayed the unauthorized broadcast, so then again, he had the intent to commit a further offence. He also follows Farrell on GPRS with the intent to kill him, so that's another further crime. The penalty for Section 2 is up to 2 years imprisonment. This is just for breaking Section 2 alone, and up to £5,000 fine. On indictment, this could be increased to 5 years imprisonment and still a £5,000 fine. Now, Section 3 of the Act is when an individual carries out unauthorized acts with the intent to impair the operation of a computer, make unauthorized modifications to data, and or supply or obtain articles for the use in offences under Section 1 or 3. So, Thomas Gabriel wrote this in the following ways. He hacked the phone networks. He also hacked and impaired the traffic light operations, and hacked and rerouted the gas liners, causing chaos in America. The penalties for this is up to 12 months imprisonment and a £5,000 fine, and on indictment is up to 5 years imprisonment, and £5,000 fine.
Thomas Gabriel also went against the Data Protection Act of 1998. This act is designed to protect personal data stored on computers and in an organized filing system. The purpose of this act is to control the way information is handled and to give legal rights to people who have information stored about them. In relation to data stored, this information could be personal or sensitive data. Personal data is about the living people and could be their name, address, medical details, and banking details. Sensitive data includes information about ethnic background, health, criminal activity, and religion. There are 3 roles involved in this act. The information controller, who is the person who has the power to enforce the act. The data controller collects and keeps data about people. Data subjects, data stored about them outside of their direct control. There's 8 principles of the Data Protection Act. Anyone who processes personal information must comply with these 8 principles of the Data Protection Act, which makes sure that personal information is fairly and lawfully processed. Processed for limited purposes, adequate, relevant, and not excessive, accurate and up-to-date, not kept for longer than necessary, processed in land your rights, secure, and not transferred to other countries without adequate. Under the Data Protection Act, which states, a person must not knowingly or recklessly, without the consent of the data controller, obtain or disclose personal data or the information contained in personal data, or procure the disclosure to another person of the information contained in the personal data. Unlawful obtaining of personal data, this section makes it an offence for people, other parties, which is Thomas Gabriel in this case, such as hackers and impersonators outside the organisation to obtain unauthorised access to the personal data. In this film, Thomas Gabriel used codes to hack into the federal government's financial data, which also contains the financial data of the general public of America. This was very wrong because the American public would assume that their data is secured, which it wasn't, and Thomas Gabriel is going to use this opportunity to clear everyone's financial data to keep the money to himself. The penalties he could face for this would come from the Information Commissioner's Office, where they have the power to issue monetary penalties notice of up to £500,000 for serious breaches of the Data Protection Act. He could also face prosecution.
Hi and welcome to our presentation. I will be covering two scenes from the film Diehard 4, and I will be talking about the laws which Gabriel, who is the villain in the film, has breached. Now, starting off with scene 1, as you can see here, Gabriel has started the first phase of the fire sale to cause a big havoc in the traffic. This is a screenshot from the film Diehard 4. Now moving on to this next stage. Now Gabriel, how did he breach the law? The way he has breached the law is that by copying someone's design and then using it for his own sole purpose. Now this is related to the Copyright and Design Patents Act, which states that anything which is media related or anything which is solely copied, could be physical or could be a company's name, and especially if he has a patent on it, no one is allowed to use. But in this case, which he has used a different, while he uses replicated software, he has breached the law. Now, moving on to the next stage, what is the penalty? The penalty for the crime could be unlimited, but what I have come up with is 2 years imprisonment for causing such a big havoc in the traffic and causing so many injuries, and there could be a fine of up to £1 million. But this depends on the circumstances, but in this case I reckon it's £1 million. Now if we move on to the next stage, why it's wrong, Gabriel knew what he was doing, as he's an adult, so he knew what he was doing. Gaining access to a computer without anyone's permission is again related to the Computer Misuse Act. The Computer Misuse Act relates no person shall access the computer without an authorization, but here Gabriel did without an authorization. Then again, as I repeated earlier, by doing this he has affected so many people's lives. Now scene 2. In this scene, Gabriel is trying to gain access to a detective's information to manipulate it. Okay, now talking about how did Gabriel breach the law, he has breached the law of Computer Misuse Act by first hacking into the system, which is only the police allowed to hack into, the Copyright Designs and Patents Act, meaning using his own software he's copied to access the detective's information. Now he has done this by first hacking to the database, which is obviously gaining access to the computer without an authorization. Then accessing the detective information to manipulate it, meaning to change the information. So moving on to the next stage, what is the penalty? The penalty of this could be 15 years imprisonment and an unlimited fine, which again, the unlimited fine I have come up with as I could not make my mind up. But 15 years imprisonment because there could have been so much information which could have been changed. It could be from family name, could be from bank details, could be any history which he has had. So why it's wrong, it is wrong as Gabriel knew what he was doing. He's hacked into a database with access to all confidential information. Any data could have been manipulated, and this is the reason why the copyright was breached. Thank you for listening.
I want to talk about the intellectual property rights, patent and trademark. Now, in summary, the Business Dictionary defines this as the right that is had by a person or by a company to have exclusive rights to its own products or intangible assets or ideas or as the case may be, and without the worry of any competitor. Sometimes this lasts for a specific period of time. And this right can include copyright, patents, trademarks, and trade secrets. It could be enforced by the court via a lawsuit. And then the reason for this intellectual property right is to help safeguard the ideas that individuals come up with and companies as well, just without the fear of the ideas being stolen by a competitor or something like such nature. So you could read more from the link below, which is Business Dictionary.com. Now, we want to identify what he did. He hacked into the federal system. He brought down the FACC and hacked into the financial information that was not for public use. Now, as we all know, the right to store information which is owned by the federal government, the American federal government, and it doesn't have to be known or whatever by any other nationality. So by hacking into this, it could be exposed to other people and it would hack into the American government, the information of the American government. And it hacked into the financial information that was not for public use. This could also pose a lot of problems. He used a captain Matthew Farrell to help write an algorithm that would enable hacking into the security system of government. That was how he breached the contract and the law. He launched a power-scale attack on the entire national infrastructure. He did that by hacking into the traffic system and also the national power grid and electric stations, and then also the national television stations and radio stations as well. And then the penalty for this breach of this intellectual property right is it varies based on the type of property and extent of the infringement, but it is often based on real damages. That is, you pay the right holder for the lost income. So this allows significantly higher fines, including prison sentences, which occurs in extreme cases. And then the courts are often pressured by professional societies to demand larger payouts as an object lesson. But the majority of disagreements are settled outside of court. And in this case, he has to go to prison for attempting to steal from national treasury. Because if he wasn't intercepted in the later stage, or if he wasn't killed in the movie, he would have succeeded in this plan. And also for deliberate destruction of lives and property. Now the sentence for breaking all this law, copyright and what have you, Thomas Gabriel will be sentenced to life imprisonment and possibly be fined a huge amount of £5 million. I think this will serve as a deterrent to others that would want to go into such. Thank you.